Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 7, Episode 34, overall 364 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210. Live with CDP Sports Talk is on a radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Newton, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports, from weeknights from 8 p.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. Eastern as well. And I hope everyone's doing well on this. I can't believe this is already Tuesday, January 30th, 2024. This is my second show of the day and fourth of the week. And I'm looking forward to my guest today. I met her through LinkedIn, and her name is Nicole Vreen. She is an academic mentor in the athletics department at the University of Tampa Bay, a position that she helps with student athletes, and we're going to bring her on as well. And just to let you guys know, she's also a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Good evening, Nicole. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well on this January 30th. Where has the time gone?
Yeah, already 2024. Thank you for having me on today.
Well, thank you for coming on. How's the weather in Tampa Bay right now?
It's a bit chilly, but I'm sure not as bad as it is in Canada. It's
Actually,
60.
60, that's balmy. Actually, we haven't had much of a winter here this year. We've had a few days where it's been cold and we've had snow, but we had a green Christmas, and it's been very mild here. And I kind of like the winter. I'm used to having 4 seasons.
Yeah, we've had a pretty green Christmas, a palm tree Christmas here as usual.
So yeah, my other guest today was from Jacksonville, Florida, and my niece right now is going to be an airline pilot, and she's in Clearwater, Florida right now as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great. Yeah.
So, but being from Rochester, Pennsylvania, have you switched your alliances to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yet?
Well, never.
Never.
I did go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus, the Steelers preseason game on August 17th, I believe so. And I had really high hopes for the season after that. Didn't really live up to it, but it was nice to see, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to go to one in Pittsburgh. So it was nice to still be able to see a game.
All right, we already have our viewers on. I have Nigel Price, who says hello, and then Arden Hagman. He goes, yeah, Nicole.
Hi, guys. Thank you for joining into this live video. I appreciate it. You guys taking your evening with me.
So how was your daytime? How was your work day today?
It was good today. It was a lighter day today. I only had 2 meetings, and meeting with the students is like one of the biggest aspects of my job title. So yeah.
And how long have you been with the University of Tampa Bay?
So since August.
August.
Yeah, I've been in Rochester, Pittsburgh area my entire life. I went to undergrad in South Carolina, which we might be able to get to later, but I just moved on to the Tampa Bay in August. So that's when I started my position there.
How much of an adjustment was it going from Rochester, Pennsylvania to Florida? Obviously the climate is a big factor.
Well, I'm from a small town, very small town, graduating class, maybe 60 people max. And coming to a place where, people are flocking to, nowadays where, I'm not used to 3-4 laned highways versus, just maybe one that goes that way. So that was a big difference. I didn't realize how far I live from the University of Tampa, which is downtown Tampa. I only live about 10 miles away, but it takes me about 40 to 50 minutes to get to work because of heavy traffic. So like that was, I think, the biggest change for me. It took me a while to get used to it. I'd just be in the car just like, when am I going to get there? So, and just being around way more people than what I'm used to. And the weather is an adjustment. Being down here in the winter months and not having to wear a coat yet, or just enjoying. I really like the weather. I haven't been here for summer yet, so I heard it's pretty deadly. But it's nice the weather is very nice, especially around this time of year.
What's the one thing you like about being in Tampa Bay right now besides the weather?
Well, I've met some good people, and my job is awesome. I had to watch the NCAA Division II volleyball championship, which was hosted at the University of Tampa, and I actually got to work it, meet the athletes, officials and stuff like that. That was a very fun experience. Like some of the stuff I've done with my job probably has been one of the greatest parts of being down here, and networking and meeting people that I've met through the University of Tampa and this group event that I'm at. This group I'm in called WISE, which is Women in Sports and Events. It's a group where you can kind of network with other people. I met through them. I met Sheila Johnson, and she was the first female black female billionaire. Met her through them, and I know a few people who work for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it was nice being able to meet so many people in good positions, and it's great.
And you know what? And being in the industry, connections are huge as well.
Yeah, it's becoming a who you know, not what you know kind of thing anymore. And connections are important in sports, for advice for people who are trying to get in the industry. It's like if you're an undergrad right now, those people in internships will be important. Not that the value of a degree is going down, but it's nice to have someone who can say, this person is good at their job. This person, I would, in the future, I would recommend them for your company. They'd be a good asset to you. You need those nowadays because everyone has a degree now.
Yeah, my story is a little bit different. I did go to school for college for law and security, but that wasn't really what my passion was. And now I'm working hard in a new career in the radio, and I'm kind of doing it the old school self taught way. But I'm definitely not against getting post secondary education. It's just like I said, what I'm doing is a little bit of harder road, but this is something I have a passion for, and it's hard to know. When I was younger, I just didn't know what I wanted to do at the time, and obviously they didn't have this technology. And now I'm trying to prove to people that don't judge me by my age, but by the body of my work.
Right, which is a great valuable lesson because technology has opened the doors for a lot of people. You with YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, and Instagram, TikTok, even, which is one of the newer ones, has opened doors for people. Enough for where that's their job. Working in content creation is what I believe it's called now. So that's really nice that people are able to take their passions and make videos about it, which do change people's lives. People tune in daily to these kind of shows, and just sometimes it'll just be as simple as just get ready with me, where people do their hair, show what they eat for breakfast and stuff like that. People will watch it.
Absolutely. I joined TikTok 3 years ago at the age of 48, and I was thinking this is going to be a disaster or whatever. I had my preconceptions, oh, it's only for young people only. But you know what? It's been great in 3 years. I've learned how to cut promos for my guests like you and my radio show and air my interviews with players and coaches. And I've made a lot of connections on there as well as friends. And TikTok is a really good tool. It's like any social media tool. As long as you use it the right way, it's a great tool to have.
100%. I believe that too. And you can just meet people from everywhere, now. You can connect with so many people in different countries because even if you don't speak the same language, we've got translating apps now too. So it's very nice that, because I was the same way about TikTok too. I was one of probably the last person in my friend group to get it because I was like, that what is so funny, what is so great about it? It's because I didn't start making TikToks till about 2022 because I didn't think anything of it, that app. But then I realized, interacting with, there's so many Steeler fans out there, just football fans in general out there. And it's kind of, I don't really take it seriously, but like I like to make my jokes on there, nothing's to be taken to heart that I say on there because it's just jokes. But, people enjoy watching it. People always comment and interact with my posts and stuff like that. So it's really nice having that.
And during the Christmas holidays and during Christmas, I finally learned how to do video editing. So for all my shows that are done video wise like this, I've learned how to do YouTube shorts and cut my shows into 1 minute reels as well, because that's the big thing nowadays. Sometimes people don't have a half an hour to watch or listen to a radio or podcast show. So I've learned how to do video editing off of the internet.
Yes, that's also a great tool to have because on top of people, it being a time where people are getting off work and maybe eating dinner, the attention span sometimes is not always there to be able to watch a 40-minute segment anymore, which is sad, but it's true. And some people like, just like a recap or something like that. What were the highlights of the episode? So
Absolutely. And this technology really does shrink the world down with the technology. And I do have listeners now in 31 countries across the world. And I did never thought 4 years ago I would have countries like 31 countries listening to my show.
yeah, that's a great accomplishment. I'm glad you reached that milestone. That's
So
awesome.
before we get into some questions, I noticed in your background you got some terrible towels and some Pittsburgh Steelers stuff.
Yeah, I've got more just no longer can fit on the wall. So and the ones that I hung up are some that I kind of hand chose that are my favorite ones, or some of them have different meanings behind them, and it may be hard to see some of them. I have the rest in peace to the Three Rivers Stadium towel. The one, because there's a lot of Mexican Steeler fans. That's a one. And then up in the corner, just the six rings. We always have those ones. A military one. The breast cancer one, which is not up right now. And 2022 was the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception, and they were
Exception.
selling limited edition terrible towels. And I had bought one that it had a nice little tag on it that explained everything. And moving down to Tampa, I accidentally ripped it and can't find it where it's at. And then the one I'm covering up, it's hard to move past it. Yeah, is Renegade. Have you ever heard of the Renegade song?
Yeah, that's from 1979. They play that at every Steelers game to pump up the crowd and the
Yeah,
defense. What, in the third quarter usually? Fourth
fourth
quarter?
or beginning.
Fourth.
They'll show a highlight reel of the current team, and then the game started. Everyone's terrible towels to get going. And the tag stayed intact like that one, so people will be able to read it, and say like, "Oh, this is what that song stands for." So
Yeah.
so I was able to keep the tag intact, right?
I've been to Pittsburgh once 10 years ago. I saw a Pirates game there at PNC Park. I saw Heinz Field where the Steelers play. Beautiful. And I actually got to put my foot in where Franco Harris caught that ball in 1972, the year I was born, by the way. That year I was only, I think, 6 months old when that play happened in 72. So they have like the exact marker where it happened on the 30-yard line. I thought that was a great job the Steelers did there.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it's in the parking lot by what is now Stage AE, and and it's right next to the stadium. Fans go and take pictures of it. It's kind of become a memorial now. Just like if you fly into Pittsburgh, Franco's wax figure, I don't know what it is, standing there holding the ball. That's nice. Every time I fly through Pittsburgh, even though I have a million times, I always take a picture of it or with it. So it's just like he's became a hero. It's sad he didn't get to see his retirement, but it was still great. And Heinz Field actually has like a new addition. It's called the Museum, Hall of Honor Museum, which I was one of the first guests to go to. And I'm looking at it now. I have a hall pass and it's a lanyard you get to keep and a little pass on it that features a different Steeler player on it. So the last time I went, it was the bus. And the first time I went, it was Franco. So like I kept them both. I have them, and they're nice. And it's a really great exhibit, and it goes throughout the Steelers' history, some of the records they broke. Being the first people in the NFL to kind of have a diversity initiative, and seeing some of the artifacts in there from the Immaculate Reception or just that '70s team in general. You can even go and they have a broadcast booth where you can pick an iconic Steelers play, and they'll let you commentate the video of what happened with a script you can follow. It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Pittsburgh's a great sports town. I'm going to put you on the spot here. You got the Steelers, the Penguins, and the Pirates, but I'm assuming Pittsburgh is always a football town first.
Always. Oh, no matter who's winning at the time, always. Yes, 100%. I mean, it's almost and we've all branded ourselves to where we all have the same colors and stuff like that. So, but it's 100%, I would say, a football town, and the Pirates haven't been good in years, but they're working on it. It's hard to get the owner to spend some money, but beautiful stadium, if not, ranked top 3, if not, even higher than that. The Penguins, they're struggling a little bit, but they hit their, they'll hit a stride eventually, and we're just hoping that can someone, Steelers, has become a town where, like, Pittsburgh has become a town where, the sports are kind of on a little downward spiral right now, but we will always come back because it's Pittsburgh. So
Definitely. Well, I'll tell you what, we're gonna get into some questions, and then at the end of the show, I'll ask you your thoughts on the Steelers' playoff loss to the Bills, and maybe talk a little bit about the NFL playoffs and preview Super Bowl 58, if that's okay.
of course, yes.
All right, Nicole. First question I wanted to ask you is, can you tell my audience a little bit about yourself?
So, as he said, I'm from Rochester, Pennsylvania, and in a very small, intimate town just right north of Pittsburgh in Beaver County. And I studied actually marketing and communications in undergraduate. So I was not at the time thinking anything about sports, and I actually did everything under the sun before I got into the sports industry. I worked in finance, worked just in sales, business, and tried to do all that. But sports is where I found home, and that's kind of like my identity is almost shaped around sports. Somehow the conversation always comes back to that. So when someone asks me about myself, I like to explain that part, and coming from the Steel City and being born in the 2000s, so being raised on those years of greatness with the Steelers, you kind of form an identity and build a bond. Remember sitting on my lap, I'm at my dad's lap in the early 2000s, watching football with him, smiling because, we were good at the time. Now they're a headache and a half, but, and remember what, watching the last Super Bowl we won, which was with him. So like, that's where like I've shaped my identity, which has led me to this point. Like I said, I got away from sports for a while, but I reeled myself back in, and I don't want to leave this industry. It's really fun, and I love talking sports, chatting sports. I have debates all the time. Whether that be in the office or on TikTok, Instagram, just passersby, people. Being in a state where another team is like the dominant team here. It's easy to get in arguments with people about sports, but I'd like to say that's what I would call myself.
I've only talked to you for about 15 minutes on air, but I can tell from your voice and your smile how passionate you are. And that's the thing, is when you're in a career, you want to do something that you have a passion for and you really enjoy. And for me, I just wish they had this technology back in the 90s, but you know what? Age is just a number, and you should always follow what you want to do, because like I said, life is very short, and I've always loved the sports industry. I've always loved talking sports. I'm not always right, but this is something I really enjoy, and I can tell that you do as well.
Yeah, love it. And like you said, age is just a number, especially when it comes to a career. Some people don't find out. Viola Davis didn't become an actress till she was almost in her 50s. So, and she's one of the greatest actors. So, like time is non-existent, especially in a world of technology. Like you said, time doesn't exist anymore, and age doesn't, exist anymore. There's people on TikTok much older than you who are, just showing how their life is, and they're doing very well with that.
Absolutely. You know what? In my other profession, which in a way kind of prepared me for this, I was always like, okay, I worked with people my age, the younger generation. But you know what? Since I've switched over to media 4 years ago, I've worked with a lot of college students, younger people, and they don't care about my age. They don't care that I'm self-taught, and they've been really good. And I pick their brains for information, and then they pick my brain for my life experience. And it's really been good working with the younger generation.
Yeah, and also and having a mentor nowadays is one of the best things to have, especially if there's someone who's got experience or knowledge in the industry and stuff like that. It never hurts to, ask or just, be like, like you said, what can we learn from each other? And, and age, it shouldn't matter. I listen to some people who are younger than me, which not a lot of people, but, I'm pretty young, but, and listen and taking advice from my older, I have 5 aunts and uncles. So it's a lot of people in my family, a lot of people to look after. And because I come from a church home, so all of my aunts and uncles are ministers or pastors. My grandmother and grandfather are, my grandfather was, he passed away. But so it's like
I'm sorry.
coming from, being small and just seeing people who just are passionate about what they do and just talk about it all day, all day, all day. It's nice to have seen that and see it successful people, being able to listen, having a family where people like listen to, and that's like something, that you have to be born with. People are instantly attracted to the way you talk, and how you carry yourself. I feel like, it can be taught to some degree, but it has that when you walk in a room, people turn to you is something that is just you're born with. So I like, and that's part of my background too, is like, I come from a church background which is where my public speaking aspect comes from. That was drilled into my head as a child. I had the greatest childhood, sitting on the front pew watching my father and my grandmother preach and things like that. Like I said, all of my aunts and uncles. So, and I didn't really get to experience my grandfather because he passed away when I was so young. But I got to see and I've been told what he was like. Fantastic person, and it's nice being able to say that about your family.
Absolutely. And I get another viewer, Nija. I think Nija Price. She's made for it.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to say thank you. I just didn't want to interrupt the show, but that's a very nice comment.
Yeah, I try to get my viewers involved, and I really appreciate them watching it. And now, that leads to my next question. Besides your aunt and uncles, did you have anybody else that were your mentor as well?
Yes, I have two really big mentors in my life. Starting in my undergraduate school, I don't talk to him often because he still is a professor at Coastal Carolina University. His name was Dr. Jeffrey Ranta, and we did it was an internship class thing where we would take companies who would need like a rebrand or help, so to say. And they could be companies from around the world, so we had some meetings at some odd hours and stuff like that, and kind of make like a PowerPoint or a show, or kind of say, well, here's what we think as college students, because like we would be their demographic. So as college students, we would think would be better for you. And it was an internship that changed my life. I mean, like, it was a great internship. He was such a good professor. He's such a hands-on. He also runs the Coastal Carolina's TV show network they use. I can't remember what the exact radio is called, but he ran it, when College Game Day came to Coastal in 2020 for that huge game against BYU, we ended up pulling off. And he was director of all that. So he was also like a good person to be around. He was always fair with grading and good to talk to. You can use me as a reference, professor. Put this internship on your resume, professor. Like, he was really hands-on and really good. But the main mentor in my life, I would say, is Marcus Williams, who I met at Penn State University, who really, I would say, was the person that, changed my perspective on sports. Because I actually applied for a job that was a student job. This is after I graduated undergraduate and went back home to Pennsylvania. And so I wasn't technically qualified for the job. But he brought me in for the interview anyway, and he was like, "We like who you are. You have good grades. And you're looking for that sports experience that you don't have yet. We can give you that. Whether the pay was trash, or like you can only work a certain amount of hours a week because it was a student job. They gave me that opportunity. He gave me that, and Andy also gave me the opportunity too. But he was the one who really gave me the opportunity and opened the sports door for me. Because I had always been passionate about it, but there was no one to say, well, we want you, because I didn't have any experience. I had marketing experience, like I said, financial experience, but I didn't have sports experience. He gave me that, and I still talk to this day, call him up, talk to him 45 minutes, about something else, about my youth league basketball team, which we'll get into a little bit later. I'll call him up, talk about just anything in life, ask him for a recommendation. He got me the job at UT, and he is just somebody that's just a great person that became a huge aspect and a huge mentor in my life, which he could, he's that for a lot of people, actually, not just me, but he's someone I always make sure to let everyone know this person changed my life. And he's a great man. And like I said, he gave me that. I had experience at Penn State. I had shot some action shots for the baseball team, did some stats, did some, we did all types of things there where I learned the ins and outs of how collegiate athletics work. So that was nice.
When you were at school at Coastal Carolina University, how many years was your program?
It was a 4-year program, but I actually only attended for the last 2. I had
Okay.
gone to a previous institution, Duquesne University, but nothing I did there really aids with what I'm doing now. So I just say, I went to Coastal Carolina. Even though I only went junior and senior year, everything I learned there is what I'm doing now. But I did go to Duquesne University for the first 2 years of my college, which I studied political science, and found out quickly it was not really my thing. I was getting good grades, but I was like, the love is not there. I couldn't connect with it. So I just, left home for the first time ever, went to Coastal, and it worked out fantastic for me. Great, one of the greatest decisions I made in my life, if not the greatest. So.
Okay, and this leads to my next question. How important has volunteering and volunteering, internships, and mentoring been in your schooling and your career so far?
So as of right now, they've been absolutely everything. They've opened every single door I've gone through. They've helped me, even though I've always been on the mentors, more than likely on the mentor side. They teaching other people also teaches me things, because I was once the people I mentor and coach. I was once their age, whether sometimes their athletic ability is off, a little bit different than mine, or their mindsets, their parents were a little bit different than mine. I still learn from them, and being a mentor, sometimes you get the students or the kids that may not be the best, and they want you to remediate them and try to turn that thing around, and which is what a mentor is for. So most of the kids I've, especially at the University of Tampa, the students I've got, they may not have the best grades, or they may not be doing the best they can in school. It's up to me to actually try to help them, and without discouraging them. They know they did bad last semester or the semester before. They already know that. You don't need to keep reiterating how bad they are. It's about uplifting them and telling them, like, we can get through this semester with, making the 2.0 thing you have to be in the athletics department. Anything under that's academic probation. So, or even telling the athletes I work with at the YMCA, being their basketball coach, and it's a beginners league, so you have to start way, way, way back from the start, and helping them has helped me, because seeing the smile on their face, and most of them are being a beginners league. I'm their first ever basketball coach. So
Wow.
I sometimes the seeds I plant in them are what they're gonna think basketball is. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like I have to make sure they love it and want to come back. Otherwise, I don't feel like I did my job.
Absolutely. And also, volunteer work has been important in my life. And I haven't done internships, but I've done a lot of volunteer work. And doing volunteer work with a semi pro basketball league team led to me getting a taste of doing camera work, which led to my podcast, which led to my radio show. So, volunteer work, mentoring, or internships, everyone's like, you're not getting paid for it. But you know what? Sometimes that is getting the experience and the skills is just as important as the money itself, if not more.
100%. That's valuable, and getting to know. I mean, you may not meet the GM of a team or even the owner of a team, but you can still meet people who are high up in that area, and you could still talk to them, and not use them. That's a bad word to use, but and see how did you get in your roles. I love asking that to people, because everyone's journey is different, and I would like to know, how did you become GM of the Sacramento Kings? How did you become GM of the Pittsburgh Steelers? How in the world that happened? It's always good if you his name is Omar Khan, our GM. If you sit in front of him, why wouldn't you want to ask that? You know what I'm saying? So it's great to always learn where people come from and what they're doing. And through those, and every internship is not paid. It's nice when it's paid, especially in the economy we live in.
Yes.
But that experience you can take with you, like I said, that person can say, oh, slide in a recommendation to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the University of Tampa, or wherever I might go next. You never know. So they're always valuable. I agree with that statement.
Absolutely. And you know what? In this industry, I've had some successes, but I've had some setbacks. I don't call them failures or no's. I call them setbacks. And you know what? You just have to make sure you stay humble and stay hungry and learn. Keep learning, keep improving. And sometimes you're going to have your success and sometimes you're not. And you just have to learn not to take things personally. And I've been lucky. I've had a lot of people in the media industry pay it forward to me. So if I'm lucky enough, Nicole, to be on air full time in a studio, I'm going to try to help out the younger people or somebody my age in the future that's interested in this as well.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to have, and I hope that you will one day. And it's great to have that mindset too. Automatically thinking, I can help somebody else in the future. Or somebody who is my age and feeling discouraged or want a career change. And you could always help with that. And you're like a beacon of light for people who thought it was over. Because even sometimes with my career, I thought I was too old, and I was only 22 when I got into the experience, but I was like, thought I was, because there's, in college now, there's kids who are working for ESPN, working for Major League Baseball, National Football League. They're 18 to 20 years old doing this. I was 22 with none of it. And I'm not old in terms of age wise, but it felt like it, especially like you said, after receiving rejection after rejection. Especially when you send an application with hopes that something will come back. Sometimes you don't even get a rejection, which is sometimes worse. So it's just like, but you say, like, you can't take it personal. There's so many candidates that apply for NFL internships or big corporations that work with them. ESPN. Or even just working for like Dick's Sporting Goods headquarters is in Pittsburgh. A suburb of Pittsburgh. It's not in Pittsburgh, but it's a suburb of Pittsburgh. So like, it's hard to see that we're sorry, we're looking for other candidates, but sometimes it's what you need. You're good. It's like I've gotten rejected a million and six times, but no one sees my rejections. Everyone just sees what's on LinkedIn. Everyone oh wow, she's in the sports industry, she's successful. No one ever really sees those personal failures you go through. So you know
Yeah, I try not to use failure. I use the word setbacks. That's how I look at it. And this year I've already been asked to speak at some high schools in the local area for kids, and I'm like, wow. And I'm going to share something with you too, Nicole. When I was in school, actually I didn't talk until I was 4 or 5 years old. I was very shy. And when I was in school, elementary, high school, I hated public speaking. I did everything to get out of it. I didn't want to be on camera, whatever. And now look at me at 51.
yeah, that life that could take you anywhere. Like you said, if you'd have told 20-year-old you that you were going to be in this career one day, probably wouldn't have believed it, huh? So yeah, that's something that I've actually had to do my whole life. Was public speaking, or whether that was doing a church play, or I was a participant in this Martin Luther King Jr. oratorical contest that we had. I had won it 4 or 5 times. So like that aspect has always been there. Like, but I get it from my. I would like to say I get it from my father's side of the family. That's where I like to see it comes from. Even though like it does come from practice too. Where you're just sitting there, rehearsing something in your head over and over again. You have to also do that. Sometimes winging it can end in controversy or trouble. So, because just say something you accidentally didn't mean, or it came out the wrong way, or, so, but I've always kind of been, on public speaking. I've watched it, done it my whole life. So, it's a blessing to have that. And, yours came a little bit later in life, but it's no less than mine is. So that's how I like to look at it.
And
Yeah.
that's what I love about my show is the storytelling aspect, not just myself, but for my guests. I learn something new every time I do a show, and that's why I love doing it. The storytelling aspect of it.
Yeah, and storytelling is great, a great attribute to just have, being able to talk and being able, especially in a world where media is running absolutely everything. We have consistent news, whether that be sports or just regular news. It is nice to see that people are starting to value having that kind of attribute.
Absolutely. Hey, also one thing too. Obviously, in the media broadcasting industry, talking is huge, but I find listening is just as important as the talking itself.
Oh, 100%. Because, like you said, you can get take something that someone may have said that, they kind of went over and did things important, but it's something that caught your ear, and you can make an entire story about it. And I had talked to I have a friend, Arden Hagman. You actually mentioned him. He was in the comments. His father worked for CBS. His name's Eric, for 40 plus years. And I spoke with him, and he said it's important to know the difference between writing for, what we're doing, and writing for, paper, writing for what he calls writing for the eye, and writing for the ear, and listening are always important. He taught me that about a week ago, and it was something that just stuck with me. I've been saying it in my head over and over. Like, writing for the eye is like writing for a visual experience, describing more, but writing for the ear is more conversational. And I think I had about a 40-minute conversation with him. It was very helpful and insightful.
One thing too I wanted to bring up with you, Nicole, is I know I'm from the older generation, but it's kind of sad seeing the newspaper industry disappear too as well.
Yeah, and I speaking of that, my grandma, back when that was a big popular thing. Like you said, it's kind of sad that people aren't taking any value in it. She kept the Obama's inauguration. She has the paper from the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. and I'm blanking on what his name is. He's a president, huge president. I was going through her things, JFK, and I had found these newspapers. They're yellow now, and it's like our generation has lost that. There's been so many monumental moments just since 2020 that people aren't keeping that physical thing. She still had that from 1964 and 68. It's like, it was valuable back then. And she doesn't want to sell it or anything like that, because she likes having it. And like said, well, one day I knew my grandchildren were going to find it. So that's what it's said, that it's becoming such a lost art and stuff like that. But like you said, it's just the way the world is working. Everything's so digital, which is sad. And, these websites are now charging a lot for monthly subscriptions to access their content.
Absolutely. My mom I think she still has a newspaper from 1969 when they had the first moon landing.
Yeah. My grandma had some pretty awesome ones. I found it, and I was like, I looked at her and said, Grandma, you didn't tell me you had this. She was like, well, I have so many, I forget sometimes some of the, monumental ones she had. She had the, from Martin Luther King's funeral, where Coretta was on the front cover. And I just thought that was awesome, and like you said, it's almost like a lost art, kind of, where we've got more to visual things rather than, someone sitting down and reading. No one reads on their porch anymore. No, everything's so fast paced now.
And being a sports fan, I collected ticket stubs from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And now when you go to a sporting event, this as well, Nicole, everything is on your phone. It's all digital. There's no more tickets to collect.
Yeah, physical tickets are a thing of the past, that's for sure. You just go in there, scan the barcode, move on with your life. And like you said, some things you don't know, that could be a monumental game, like the Immaculate Reception, where it's just a playoff game that turns into the best play ever. And ticket stubs were a thing back then, but where to say if it was to happen now you have you don't really have a physical thing to say you had.
I to share a story with you. I was at Tom Brady's first NFL game, July 31st, 2000 at Canton, Ohio. It was a food poisoning game. My friend ended up taking me to some cheap restaurant. I ended up getting bad food poisoning. Thankfully, I listened to him and I went to Tom Brady's first game against the San Francisco 49ers at Canton, Ohio. Obviously, I threw up and I wasn't feeling good, but I kept that ticket stub to this day. And now I could probably get a whack of money for the Tom Brady's first ever NFL game preseason ticket stub as well.
Yeah, 100%, especially knowing the man he became, football player he became after that. The greatest, it's not even debatable actually anymore. Well, some people like to throw Pat in there, but, it's not even debatable how great he was. So, that's a great thing to have. And that's why I'm always grateful for the things that my family has held on to. I have a lightsaber from 2005. When the handle on that thing was probably about that big. They're only about that big now, but it was huge. It's still even like when you flick it, it still even makes the noise and stuff like that. So just having keeping those things right at the time, you didn't think to keep them, but my dad had kept it, and I still play with it here and there. But but it's nice to have it. Yeah.
And I have Arden Hagman. He's commenting, the physical tickets being no more is so disappointing. And what happens to people who, I know a majority of people have smartphones and laptops, but what if there's somebody out there that doesn't have this technology?
Yeah, and most of America has it, but there is other places where you don't have access or you have a delayed access. And you said, especially with even recording things, sometimes you don't have anything to commemorate the moment because it's hard to look at. Or what if, like you said, what if you wanted to tell your children one day, or if you do have have them, you went to this game, they're like, how are we supposed to know that? You can show them your ticket stub. You can show them this and that. The last Steelers game I went to, at Raymond James Stadium, I don't know where the ticket's at. It's somewhere in the cloud somewhere. I can't. And we've it's disappointing. Like Arden said, it's disappointing because we've lost that aspect to where we don't say we kept memorabilia anymore. And they still stadiums still have the popcorn buckets and drinks and stuff like that, but then they don't have dates on them anymore and stuff like that. I had the 2022 popcorn bucket. Doesn't say anywhere what season it was in. It's just a popcorn bucket. And Heinz Field Acrisure Stadium was selling some of the things that were on the seats that said Heinz Field, and so they had those. If you want to buy one, they're only $1. If you want to buy a thing from Heinz Field that says Heinz Field, that's nice memorabilia, but it doesn't say what chair it was from or if it really even means anything anymore. So that's a nice thing they do, but it's still not as monumental as a ticket stub.
Now, I can't speak for the States, but I find in Canada now, a lot of places, I know the sporting events or the sporting stadiums in Toronto for the Maple Leafs, the Blue Jays, Raptors, they will not accept cash. It's all now debit in credit card.
I believe I believe the few stadiums I've been at, I don't know if you can use a cash there either. I've been to Raymond James, Heinz Field, Acrisure Stadium, and I've been to a few, and even my colleges. I actually think it is all digital. I don't even know if you can buy a ticket at the gate anymore. I think you have to get it through credit card online and stuff like that. I don't even think you can go up there and buy it thing anymore. Because last time I was at PNC, they're built into the stadium, so you kind of can't get rid of them. But the ticket booth just has a sign on it that says you should have purchased it online. Kind of thing. The only reason to go up to a ticket booth now is just in case you're troubleshooting your phone or something like that. Because sometimes during those games, it's nice to pull up the ticket when you're far back, because as many people as in that area, the service gets jammed up. And like one time, me and my sister were sitting outside of Acrisure, it was Heinz at the time, and waiting for my ticket stub to come. I'm like, if I would have just had a physical one, I could have just gave it to you. I'm sitting there waiting for Ticketmaster to load, but because everyone's in that area and the casino's right there and all that stuff, like it's got 100,000, maybe not that much, 60,000 people jam packed in one area. You're like, well, I'm sitting here waiting, this thing's just spinning and spinning, and it's like, it's annoying. So, but
I like your technology, but I think people should always have a choice of carrying cash or doing it digital. I mean, and when our technology breaks down, they don't have a backup plan. So that's what I'm concerned about in the future is when things go down for even a couple hours, what are they going to do?
yeah, like I said, with me and my sister, we had that issue. We were standing outside of Aperture just waiting for it to load. We didn't have any proof that we paid for it. The only thing you had was the Ticketmaster stuff. Like I've never thought about how big of a problem that actually can become in the future. Like you said,
No,
well, if you rely
absolutely.
too much on technology, when that thing does shut down, which can happen frequently, anything happening, lightning strike, something, just a bug in the system or a troubleshooting issue, and everything goes down, and we're just standing there looking at each other. you know?
Absolutely. Hey, Nicole, do you have a few more minutes for a few more questions?
Yeah, I have a bunch of time. Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to ask you this question. How difficult is it being a student athlete in 2024 now? And how do they balance academics with the athletics? And how important is that education for these student athletes as well at the University of Tampa?
Yeah, well, seeing it firsthand, especially with these students I have, and just for a little bit of background on the University of Tampa, they have some of the greatest Division II sports in the country. Their volleyball team's fantastic. They win their section every single year. All those athletics are great. So we have enough trophies in the office that we don't have space for them anymore. So they and some of the athletics are considering going Division I. That's how good they are. So it's seeing that pressure on the students to be able to have this balance. And, depending on your major, it could be super tough. And seeing the mental decline as, starting the semester off and you see going through November towards December, it's like kind of seeing them lose their sanity a little bit. And you're like, and you try to reeling them back in because they're trying to be, live up to the standards of their coaches who don't have a problem with recruiting, and they're, they don't really feeling like their coach doesn't really need them. So they have to feel like they have to be a perfectionist in their sport, or they have to, but their grades aren't matching sometimes. And it's like they know that it means a lot to them and they could lose this scholarship. But for some reason, the balance collides, especially with also wanting to be a teenager. I'm not a teenager, a young adult too. At the same time, social life. You have to take in that aspect, and like it's how I would say they balance is like I said, they meet me for about 30 minutes. Sometimes they go over a little bit longer. Some of them I meet twice a week. Seeing how they balance it, it's almost like a get homework done when you can, especially when you're in season. I have a lot of people on the track team. Track's a spring sport. They're struggling now with being in season too. At the same time, you practice, 3 times a day. You get it done when you can pull your laptop out, work on it a little bit, go to practice. But then, especially at the end of the day, when you don't want to do it, but it's due at night. It's you have to, like I try to tell them, you have to be, tough enough to say, I want to be done with practice and not go take a nap. I have to finish this homework assignment, which is where that struggle comes in. They do what they can when they can, which is very appreciating. But you have to be able to say, like, I am in a sport, so I have to sacrifice. And I think sacrifice is very big for them, and which is what I've noticed being there.
How many student athletes are you currently working with right now?
So I'm currently working with about 15 student athletes because everyone that's in the academics mentoring, all the athletes are not in the academics mentoring program. So I get a decent chunk of them because it's split between 5 people. So I think it's about 60 athletes total. I think the UT has about 900 something athletes, but we split it between 5 people, about 60 students, I think. And I have 15, and we kind of concentrate them on sport. I have track mostly, and golf and stuff like that. I have certain sports. So I like to connect with them. They know each other. If we can piggyback doing homework with each other. But yeah, I have about 15 right now.
What is the most satisfying? What's the most satisfying academics mentor for these
Uh,
athletes?
Seeing them light up, like when they tell me they did good on something, like they will come and just start the convo. Not hi, did you see that? Because I have access to their grades and stuff like that. Did you see that grade? It's just like knowing that something you said clicked, and it's just like how excited they get when they do well. All especially when they do well when they're in season. That like hearing success as a mentor me is everything. Even going through the difficulties with them too and seeing them come out is also satisfying, but hearing that excitement, that absolute excitement when they do something awesome, I love it.
And that's great. And one thing too, you can be an athlete for a decade or even maybe 2 decades, but eventually Father Time catches up to everyone. Education you can use for your entire life.
Yeah, and that's been a problem amongst a lot of athletic programs where they get so caught up in being an athlete that you forget that, there's life after this. But, and I think I've seen a statistic where they said about 80% of the NFL goes broke 2 years after they retire, because they're an athlete. They're not worried about finances because somebody does it for them. They're not worried about, long-term things, because, especially when you give someone a lump sum of money who's never had it before, they don't know, they don't have a financial literacy aspect. They're just listening to someone they hired, so and who sometimes may not be in their best interest. So it's I have to always remind them that too. Like, and our school operates off of you're a student first. There's no missing classes. There's no because you retired or you went to the trainer and your shoulder hurts. You go to class first. You're a student athlete, not an athlete student. So that's what we harp on there. Like you said, even if say you do have a long-term career, an injury could deviate you off that path immediately. And the league nowadays, they have so much talent. Sad to say, you will be replaced quickly too. So that having an education is important, and you have to reel them in sometimes. They get so caught up in being an athlete that you forget there's life after this. Because like you said, the average NFL player plays 6-7 years, and you can make millions. Yeah, you can make millions in that time, but if you're only 32, you may live till you're 90 years old. You got to make that stretch, and it's just sad to see some of them, go out like that because they were sold a certain dream. And, when, like you said, when you realize that it's not really a long-term thing, it gets to them. And I think a lot of college athletes get in that gray space once they graduate and realize that it's not that it's over, but this little bit of my life is over, that I made everything is over. And it's crushing. And I've seen some of my older kids going through it now. Like, they're like, okay, graduation is coming and I am lost. Can you help me?
Absolutely. Hey, and I don't know about the schools in the States, but I wish they did this in high school here. I was lucky. I was taught by my mom, who raised me and my sister as a single mom for most of her lives, and I was taught the value of a dollar in that. I really think the high schools should start teaching economics again for kids in high school, because you can't rely on the parents to do it. Because I think that's a big thing nowadays too. Because you're right, a lot of these pro athletes, you see them, they can't handle the money. They hang out with the wrong people or hire the wrong financial advisors, and they end up going broke in the end.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And like you said, it's important for those financial literacy to come back to high school, because you're entering and you're making at the age of 18 if you go to college, you're making one of the biggest financial decisions of your life that you might be paying 20 years down the line, so it's important. Like, in America actually has I did some studies on this while I was in college, and when I was 18 I wrote request for proposal for people. We gave out a grant. I worked with the Heinz Endowments, who owns Acrisure Stadium at the time. They have a philanthropy group where I wrote a dissertation. It was called LIT, Literacy in Teens, where we were going to give a $25,000 grant to a nonprofit in Pittsburgh who was working on financial literacy classes. So it's crazy that you brought that up, and I have a firsthand experience with doing that. But I didn't get it in my high school, and how to, learn how to budget and learn how. I didn't get that education, especially coming from a small, intimate school. And it's one of my biggest passions. I wholeheartedly am an advocate for it. I have been in the past. Like I said, that $25,000 grant went to the Xavier House in Pittsburgh. And that was 5-6 years ago now, so I'm sure that money has ran out. But we funded their it was called LIT, their Literacy in Teens program. And I have it up on my LinkedIn page, the link to the actual request for proposal. When I looked at it recently, I think the link has broken, maybe because it has been so long that the Heinz Endowments page deleted it. But it was one of the greatest things I had done.
Absolutely. And that's another subject. We could do a whole podcast radio show about economics, finances, and why athletes need to learn the value of a dollar before they become a professional athlete. And you know what? You see it in celebrities too. I shouldn't just single out pro athletes. There are a lot that are responsible, but yeah, celebrities as well. Just knowing how to handle money. Hey, Nicole, are you okay for a few more minutes? A few more questions?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. How did you end up getting involved with the local YMCA in Tampa Bay with coaching and officiating youth basketball? And what has this experience been like?
This has been it's very time consuming, but it has been so fun. I mean, like at this point, me and my friend talked about this the other day. I can hear basketballs and whistles in my sleep, but because and I actually applied to be an official at first. I was just the official for 7 and 8 and 5, 6-year-old basketball games, which is not really too deep of a game. And my director, he goes, "Would you like to coach a basketball team?" And I'm like, "I would love to." And like meeting the kids, their parents, their parents have given me gifts for teaching their kids, and and knowing that, seeing that the ones that I coached last season, seeing them come back through the gym for this season, and like I was like, it just made me so happy because, like I said, I'm some of their first ever basketball coach, and I want to leave a good impression, not just a good impression of Nicole Vreen, but a good impression of basketball. I like playing basketball, and I want to maybe try out for my school's team or try out for AAU after this, and be some of the reason why they do that. And in practice, we like to do one-on-one teaching proper shooting form and how to dribble properly, because in the younger age group they get away with traveling a little bit more than the older kids because they're still learning. They don't, and double dribble, they don't do it on purpose. But like, I like to see them get. I had a kid, I won't say his name because he is a minor, but who couldn't hit rim at the beginning of last season. I mean, just shoot airball every single time. And the seasons are about 8 weeks long. He scored a bucket before the end of the season. And that's whether that's it's progress. Like, and I remember the gym rang out and screamed. I'm like, we're screaming because like that I saw his growth. Like, he couldn't even hit rim and he scored in the game. And like, whether it was only 2 points, but it meant so much to me because, and every time I see him still, I'm not his coach anymore because I don't coach his age group anymore, but he comes in and Nicole, he smiles at me, and I like to, like to talk to him and some of the kids I used to have, and it's just, that is so refreshing. I love it. And and like I said, it's just slowly watching children fall in love with basketball, and how I got involved. Yeah, like I said, I just applied to be an official, and it just went, and I, like said, somehow ended up becoming a mentor and coach again.
That's awesome. Do you have to deal with any difficult parents that get involved, get into you see it here in Canada at hockey arenas and that? So do you have to ever deal with any difficult parents during these games?
All the time.
All the
Like,
time, yeah.
sometimes there is a big, ginormous poster in the YMCA that says, "Remember, I am just a child. I am not getting recruited to go to collegiate or professional basketball right now." That was interesting, but it's a reminder that we have a big old reminder to tell parents, like, this is a beginners league. It's rec league. 9 times out of 10, your child's gonna forget the scoreboard before they even get to the car. So it's about learning. It's not about winning, and sometimes everyone is supposed to play in equal time. That is a rule at the YMCA. You have to play each child in equal time. So and but yeah, there has been a few unruly parents where they will get upset with refs. I've never had anyone get upset with my officiating, but I've seen it firsthand on some other people's team and some other referees, and completely yell at the referee. And you got to remember, it's like they're still learning, and some people pushing their kids, and we have to remind them all the time, like, or intervene in practice, like, or coach over you, sideline coach. Because I had a girl that her mother or a stepmother or something would sideline coach, and I noticed it would change her attitude. I wasn't yelling at her like that. I don't feel the need to. But her mom, and I would try to talk to her. I'm like, "Are you okay?" Or I could ask her, "Are you okay?" Straight up ignoring me because of something her mother had said to her. Not, and like, you're affecting her performance in my coaching because of something you said. I mean, she wouldn't even sit down to watch the game. She'd stand on the sideline of the court coaching and yelling at her 12-year-old daughter. And and it's just like, and so I do have to deal with that sometimes. And It's hard to tell someone how to treat their child, but I do have, at the end of the day, sometimes like, I'm a coach, you know what I mean? And have to send out that reminder.
Absolutely. And that's another subject for another episode as well. Now, you mentioned that you played basketball. What position did you play and what number did you wear?
So I wore the number 5. My favorite number has always been 7, but in basketball you can't wear anything over 5 because of the way the officiating works. So I wore number 5. So that there's no story behind that. It was just the closest I could get to wearing 7. So because that was my mother's favorite number, so I wanted to have my mom's favorite number on, but I couldn't at a certain age. And I was a shooting guard, so I was a guard. I always ran up top because I was always tiny. I was like not just short, but also petite, super petite. So like
How tall were you?
Back when I played, I'm only 5'3" now, so I'll tell you how short I was back then. So I was left-handed. And people would always, most, 90% of the world's right-handed. So I would always use that to my advantage. It would take about 10 or so points for them to realize I was left-handed. So that was a good advantage of mine, being left-handed. It's a great advantage in sports.
I'm a lefty too, by the way.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Lefty.
That's a great advantage.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. And we're going to wrap this up in about 5 minutes. But I definitely would love to have you back on my show again in the future. But we'll wrap this up with a couple quick questions. Just quick thoughts on the 23 Steelers and their playoff loss to Buffalo and the job that Mike Tomlin did this season. And are you happy he's going to be remaining with Pittsburgh?
Yeah, to start with the front half of the question, my thoughts on the season, I was disappointed. Not sure, and it's hard to say, you do have a second-year quarterback who probably should have been a third-round draft pick that we had to pick first because Ben left during a year there weren't too many quarterbacks in the draft. So, we got the best that we could get. So, but, like I said, watching the preseason going 3-0 and, blowing teams out, but you have to also remember you're playing another team's rookies, too, at the same time. But I had high hopes and for them to fall short again, for the how umpteenth consecutive year in a row, and I was 16 the last time we won a playoff game. I'm going on 24 years old. So that's pretty disappointing, not heartbreaking, it's not that serious. But in the loss to Buffalo, it was, not to say we couldn't have seen it coming. The game was unmatched, in terms of the Steelers are, quarterback situation was just bad this year. We wouldn't have been in that position if, Mitch didn't blow those 3 games in a row. You lost to the 2 worst teams in the NFL in the same week, and so we had a bad quarterback position. So I don't know. We weren't going to get deep in the playoffs, in my opinion, anyway, with that kind of thing, with that, with the quarterback situation, whether, you do have TJ on the defensive side of the ball, you've got lethal wide receiver core, but sometimes, if you're, the head is not on straight, the rest of the body can't. No, it doesn't matter how good the body is. If the brain's not functioning right, it doesn't matter how good the heart's pumping. So that and on Mike Tomlin, after a while, he's everyone's favorite coach, and still, he's loved in Pittsburgh. But you have to acknowledge the mediocrity that is going on within the Steelers organization right now. And yes, we are a spoiled fan base. Some teams would kill to go 9-10-7. Like, teams aren't even getting that far. So, I have to admit, take a step back, that we are a very spoiled fan base. We're used to being good all the time, used to being headlines, 6 Super Bowls, So, but we have, like I said, we have to acknowledge that we're not winning when it matters. He's been pulling off these over 500 seasons for about 10 years now. But at what point are we going to say, I'm not calling for his job. I'm not one of those fans, but I am saying, we have to recognize, and he has to be in some kind of hot seat, with organization. And Rooney's announced that he is in charge of the OC pick. So if it goes bad again, it's on him, and he has to take that accountability.
Speaking of that, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I believe the Steelers have reportedly hired Arthur Smith as their new offensive coordinator. He's the former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
Yes, I saw that too. I've seen a lot of upset fans. It's fair enough. Not really the best decision making he's made. And you're working for, you're coming from a team that, hasn't, recovered from that Super Bowl loss. So, So I understand the frustration, and I'm not extremely satisfied with the pick, but I'm not as disappointed as some fans are. It's not the smartest pick at all. I probably wouldn't have gone that route. I can't understand the logic behind it, but I'm just you have to see him in the position first to judge that. So I'm gonna wait till August to really make that opinion. I am not satisfied with it, but I'm not going to dismiss it yet.
Okay.
He may be good as a Steeler. He has weapons. You have weapons. If you can't utilize, it took you halfway through the season to realize George Pickens is really what we thought he was going to be. That's a problem. Pat Firebooth, what, 3-4 touches at the end of the season? That's ridiculous. We have to start, utilizing our weapons. Like, come on. I mean, yeah, we don't have the best quarterback, but it shouldn't take you 10 games this season to catch a stride. It's too late.
Absolutely. I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and we went from the Super Bowl last year, should have won it, to this year melting down, and everybody wanted Nick Sirianni fired, but how do you fire a guy that took you to a Super Bowl a year before? So the Eagles basically got rid of their entire coaching staff other than Nick Sirianni. So if the Eagles this year have another meltdown, or they don't even make the playoffs in 2024, the Nick Sirianni is going to be on a very short leash. The Eagles fired Doug Peterson 3 years after they won a Super Bowl. So Tomlin has had a lot more security than Philadelphia Eagle coaches have.
100%. He's had a lot of leniency, and we always take pride in we've only had 3 coaches since the Super Bowl era, and which is really that's honorable, which and not like and a lot of them have had their successes and failures too. But like you said, they've got to the Eagles are a team that's willing to make those changes and willing to recognize what and who the problem is, because that losing streak was detrimental for the team. Like the Eagles were very, that end of the season was very disappointing and shocking too. And so it's just like you said, the Steelers have they wait and wait and wait. You give so many chances, and you're getting to the point where you're good, your game changers, not even just your good guys, your game changers are starting to get older. Cam got to have only one, if that, year left. TJ's getting older and very injury prone. Minka's starting to get a little bit older. He's getting closer to his 30s. Your guys, your game changers are getting older. You have to start making the moves that's going to get these guys championships. You have to. Or because by the time these new guys come in, they're going to be out of their prime. And TJ might end up with the same career as his brother. All those records, all that accolades, and no ring. And because your offense can't produce. You're scoring 13 to 17 points a game, and we're winning. Everyone's like, yeah, we won. But it's like 13 points, and what? One of them was a touchdown, the others were kicks. So it's just, when you go, you're good from 20 to 20, but as soon as you get in the red zone, there's nothing to come of it. Or like Boswell is kicking to the point where he gets a groin injury. And, of course you're going to have injuries on the defensive side when you're playing 45 of the 60 minutes. I mean, when you're out there like that, of course Mika's going to get hurt, TJ's going to get hurt, and all these good guys are going to be on the bench. You're playing too much.
Do you feel if this offensive coordinator, if it's Arthur Smith or if it's not and somebody else and it goes badly, do you feel that will push the Roonies into firing Mike Tomlin at some point?
Just knowing the organization, but at some point it has to. Like, you have to say, okay, this is not working, and it hasn't been working for a few years now. Yeah, he doesn't have a quarterback, so I guess that's an excuse. But you have to eventually say, okay, like, there is a coaching problem. You have weapons, you have them. What is the disconnect? What is it? Some way, like, everyone's asking that. What is it? So you got to start blaming staff. The defense the secondary has had a problem, but the defense is what's winning games for us. And, I personally believe, this is a personal opinion of mine, that we're not in a defensive league anymore, which is why the Steelers struggle a lot. We're in when you play the 49ers, you play Kansas City, and even the Ravens now, Buffalo and Eagles to some degree. You can't beat these guys defensively anymore. You have to outscore them. Like I said, this is a personal opinion of mine. It's like, what do you think you're going to do? Stop Patrick Mahomes? No, you have to outscore him. Nowadays, like you said, like that's just how I feel the league has turned around. These quarterbacks and these wide receivers and tight ends are so elite. They're fast, they're quick thinking, they know the game, and so it's just like these defensive games aren't doing the Steelers any good anymore because the league has changed from when we won our Super Bowls. All of our Super Bowls are pretty much, you can say, defensive Super Bowls. And so it's just like the league has not like that anymore. You have to score points. You got teams that are putting up 30, 40 points a game. What do you think? I mean, the defense can't do anything with that to some degree. Patrick Mahomes is guaranteed to score every single game. So I believe that you have to start scoring points now. And the Steelers are struggling with scoring points.
Well, and you're never going to see a defense like that 70s Steelers team, the Steel City or the Steel Curtain, ever again. And you have to evolve with the game. And unfortunately, a lot of the rules, like you said, Nicole, have changed, and they're more in favor of the offense than the defense. And look at Bill Belichick, one of the greatest coaches of all time. He can't get a job right now. Mike Vrabel, who got fired by the Titans, is still unemployed. Pete Carroll is still unemployed. You have to change with the times, especially as a head coach of a professional sports team.
Yeah, and you're talking about fantastic coaches who are unemployed because a lot of them are proving that it was the team and not the coach. And that's a bad thing to say about Belichick because he's had a great success. But it's like, like I said, it's becoming an offensive league now. Like you said, you're never going to see a front four like the Steelers had.
In the 70s, no.
I get, these teams might have your Micah Parsons, you might have your Myles Garrett and your TJ Watt, but you're not going to get 6 dudes like how they were, Steel Curtain was. You're not going to get that anymore. Like, and then these guys are getting injured. I mean, because they're going so hard, fighting tooth and nail. TJ's running around with no helmet on. So, and the offense, just for you to, you sit down, you got to get back up because it went 3 and out. So
absolutely,
it's just, we're in an offensive era. I personally believe that we're in an offensive era. Like, I mean, these quarterbacks and these wide receivers are running 4s on the thing. So yeah, it's so different now.
Okay, and we're going to wrap this up, Nicole. Just quick thoughts on the Super Bowl 58 matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending champs, who are trying for their second straight Super Bowl and third in 5 years, against those San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah. So I try not to hop on the conspiracy theory train with I'm not going to try to blame refs because that's not really sports talk. Let's go to the nitty gritty. And so when you're talking, I think it'll end up, like I said, it'll probably end up being a shootout. So more of offensive game and a good, I think that run game, because you have CMC, you have Pacheco, and you have these guys who are very good producing. I mean, Christian McCaffrey's an insane talent. So I think it's going to be a great matchup. I personally would rather it end in no one winning because if the 49ers win, now there's a third team that has 6 ring, and if Kansas City wins, we're just sick and tired. But someone has to win. So I can't really say I'm cheering for anybody at this point. But I do think, like I said, I believe it's going to be more of a shootout than a defensive game. It's going to be just back and forth, gunslinging all day. And I'm excited for it. Can't wait to watch it with my friends somewhere. But in terms of just the playoffs in general, I do think we are having a referee and officiating problem. I think it's clear as day. Whether they're in favor of one team or just completely missing blatant calls against. There's a huge missed call against Isaiah Likely on Sunday, and just. It's like, and even with that Detroit Cowboys game, what in the world was that? So it's just like, we've got to address this officiating, whatever is going on with the officials, whether they are being paid, like I said, not trying to get too much in conspiracy theories, but they've got to do something about that because it's really not ruining the league, but it's turning a lot of fans off. It's
absolutely.
It's like, okay, so do you guys want to go out there and put on a jersey at this point? Because it's like they're being biased towards certain teams sometimes. They're missing, picking and choosing with the PI calls. And it's just, I think that it has affected the playoff picture. and who is seeing the Super Bowl. Not to say like the refs on Kansas City Chiefs side. I don't like to get into stuff that has too much bias to it. But it's just, I think it is an obvious officiating issue though.
I'm gonna pick the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. I don't know about a score yet, but I think the Chiefs are going to win. I just like Patrick Mahomes over Brock Purdy. Purdy has won 3 playoff games in 2 years, but against Geno Smith, Jordan Love, who's still a rookie, I think is going to be a great quarterback in the future, and Jared Goff, who's a very good quarterback, but he hasn't played somebody like Patrick Mahomes. Whether you like Patrick Mahomes or not, he can do everything, and I think he's the X factor in this game between the Chiefs and the Niners. So, and Andy Reid is one of the best coaches in NFL history.
Yeah, he's smart. He's intelligent, and Patrick Mahomes is a once in a lifetime talents like we have Brady. You're just like, you are a freak force of nature. Like you were built in a lab somewhere. So it's just like, that's how fantastic he is. And like you said, I think the moment might end up being too big for someone like Brock, because I don't mean to be rude when I say he's good because he's surrounded by, I hate to not give him credit, but he's surrounded by the Avengers. So like, it's like, and he kind of picks it up when it matters. I just don't think that, like I said, it's a little bit unmatched in terms of that kind of talent. So it's just like, I think the Chiefs are just so far ahead of almost everyone in this league at this point that it's just like, it's going to be just you're just going to be hearing that name. It's going to be beat to your head. Like he's going to become a super villain in the NFL at this point because of just the jealousy and the, Chiefs got lucky enough to get him, just like the Patriots got lucky enough to get Tom, so it's just like, he stopped us from how many Super Bowls? So it's just like, so I always have secret animosity towards him. But but you can't be mad at someone for being great. So, but I truly and wholeheartedly, the Chiefs probably will end up pulling it off for a second year in a row. But I do think that the 49ers will put up a fight on the ground.
Are you a Taylor Swift fan or not?
I am not against her, but I don't listen to her music. Admittedly, don't listen to her music. I don't have a problem or an issue with that, whether that is a publicity stunt or not, or whether, because I don't like the idea that it's funneling so much money into the NFL with the publicity she's getting. You've got people who've never, understood football just watching it, which could be a good thing at the same time, but it could be a marketing, like I said, whether it's a marketing scheme or not, because the Goodell and the league in general, it's money, and more money now, instead of being about fans and football, which, even great legends of the past and, are all saying this, they're like, the NFL is an issue now. So
absolutely,
because like with the ticket sales and stuff like that, 10K to who was living an average life, all those fans that sat in Arrowhead for those single digit games, windy games, and some stuff like that. And even the Bay sometimes gets real windy. Can't go because people who have man caves dedicated to these people who've been waiting 40 years to go to one, but can't afford it. But it's a fashion show for the celebrities, so they can go.
Yeah, the NFL to me, Nicole, and I totally agree with you, has become now completely corporate, and they've forgotten how they became like this from their fans. And it's kind of sad that the average fan cannot go to a Super Bowl championship game in their lives.
Yeah, someone who's making 6 figures probably couldn't afford a 10K ticket. I mean, that's, I mean, like that's just outrageous. Like I said, it's a celebrity show, it's a fashion show. That was evident at SoFi with, and because I mean, it was in Los Angeles, which is where a lot of celebrities are located. But it's like they're getting on the jumbotron over the fans that painted their entire bodies just to be there and worked tooth and nail. The ones that are sitting in the front seat who are they want to be shown on the jumbotron, but yet we're seeing Taylor Swift in the booth nice and warm and on a single digit game where the people are in the crowd are in ski masks and stuff like that. Like it's not fair to the fans.
Absolutely. We're going to wrap this up, Nicole. What is a fun fact about yourself, and where can my audience follow you on social media?
So for like a distant fun, like one of the shorter fun facts, like something that's happened to me recently, I was featured on the Jumbotron at the PNC Park during one of the home games, and I actually won the game. I won 4 PA lottery tickets that I don't think I ever used, but I was it was cool. I was cool to see that on the Jumbotron. I actually might post it to one of my social media pages right after this, so you guys can just go straight view it. And it was one of the it was cool. It was like seeing the production team and how they were telling like you're just gonna answer. Like I did a Jersey game. So they put up a number of someone on the jersey. You had to guess whether the jersey behind it was gonna be a higher number or a lower number. And so, and I think I got a 5 out of 5, and I ended up winning. They put my name on a Jumbotron, my pictures on Jumbotron. People were texting me. My family was so excited about it. So like that was one of the fun facts about me that happened recently. That kind of question kind of takes a little bit more thought, but that's just something that just came off the top of my head.
And that's cool. And where can my audience find you on social media as well?
So I'm practically on almost every single social media platform. I am just my first and last name, I think, on every single thing. Just Nicole Vreen, no periods or underscores, I think. And I would really appreciate if people would like LinkedIn, stuff like that, and chatting, connecting on LinkedIn. That has become something that's very valuable to me over TikTok or follow me on Instagram or Twitter. Because like my Twitter account's just jokes and football. Like it's not really serious. If you want to like get to know my business aspect of me or something like that, LinkedIn is more likely. I am on, like I said, every social media platform, just Nicole Vreen, first and last name. I don't think I have any extra things at my name. And I have a unique last name, so I'm easy to find.
Okay, no problem, Nicole. And before we wrap this up, do you have a question for me, the host?
So I do have a question. What and hopefully you can, and this we're maybe on a time crunch now, but if you could just answer, what happened? Like, what made you what made you pivot so hard? Like within you saying you went into cybersecurity or police force or whatever it was. What made you pivot?
I just found after 23 and a half years doing the same job, I didn't have the passion for it anymore. The money was good. And when I got a taste of doing camera work, volunteering with a semi-pro basketball team, they actually paid me for my work. It wasn't much money, but they paid my work. They liked my camera work. And that led me to doing camera work for a local cable company, which led to me doing a podcast that led to my radio show. So just being at the right place at the right time. And again, it was volunteer work with a basketball team. And just something in me, the light bulb turned on, even though it waited 47 and a half years to turn on.
Yeah, that it's also because we have this kind of same experience. It took that one person or that one intern, not you said it was an internship, but that one experience to be like, I think I found my thing. Yeah, so like that's awesome. It's great to hear that. Like we kind of have a like kind of experience. Mine happened a little bit 20 years prior, but
Definitely. But hey, Nicole, we're going to wrap this up, but I want to say thank you so much for coming on live with CDP Sports Talk here today. And just give me a little bit of time tonight, and I will send you a video, an audio copy, and a 1-minute reel of our show together as well.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for connecting with me on LinkedIn and seeing something in me enough to invite me on here. It means a lot.
Well, you have an open invite to come back on my show again in the future.
I cannot wait.
You can be my Pittsburgh Steelers insider.
Yeah, yes, I would love to. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
All right, Nicole.
All right.
Thank you so much, Nicole. You have a great night, continued success, and we'll keep in touch with you on LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And one more thing. Thank you to everyone who commented and watched. I really appreciate that too. Even some of the people I know, some people I don't know, but I really thank you so much.
Ray, my friend Ray, with the No Huddle Football News podcast, and I think a friend of yours, Arden Hagman. Yeah. Great conversation. Thank you for that. And one last comment before we let you go. Naja Price, thank you so much for watching as well.
Yeah, you're good. Thank you so much for having me. You have a great evening.
And you too. You as well. And again, thank you for coming on live with CDP Sports Talk. And I'll send you the link to my radio station as well, so you can listen to it on the radio station's website in the next day or two. Okay?
Yes. Thank you so much. again for the millionth time.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm already looking forward to coming back. This is a great conversation.
Absolutely. Nicole, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed Season 7, Episode 34 of Live with CDP Sports Talk with my guest, Nicole Vreen, who is an academic mentor in the athletics department at the University of Tampa Bay, and she's also a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan as well. I have some good news for you guys. The next Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by BarryCullen.com or Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph. Monday, February 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern. My special guest will be Aaron Sanders, the live streaming voice of the Basketball Super League's Windsor Express. This will be Aaron's 7th appearance on my show. So Aaron's going to come on and talk about the 23-24 Windsor Express and the new basketball league that took over for the National Basketball League of Canada as well. And I also have another show, a special edition of Live with CDP Sports Talk, again, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph, Tuesday, February 6th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern with Nashville recording artist star Tori Martin, who just released her latest single, Stepping In It, on January 26th. So I hope you guys next week can tune in to Live with CDP Sports Talk for 2 episodes. Monday nights, February 5th, 7 o'clock with Aaron Sanders, and Tuesday, February 6th at 2:30 Eastern with Nashville recording artist star Tori Martin, who just again released her latest single on January 26th. Live with CDP Sports Talk, again, is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out BarryCullen.com for the newest and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210 or email at info@barrycullen.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk is on Live with CDP Sports Talk is on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern as well. And we're going to wrap this show up shortly, guys. And again, the radio station's website is wqeefm.radio12345.com as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk is also live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, /X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram thanks to StreamYard. My website is beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme if you want to check out my website. Also, I'm a content creator on TikTok. Follow me at Live with CDP. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talk. If you're into webinars or podcasting such as yours truly, check out StreamYard.com, and they have basic plans that are free, or you can get plans up to professional plans like I have for $49 US a month. Or if you're a business, check out StreamYard.com and contact their sales department if you're interested in getting StreamYard for your business. Live with CDP Sports Talk, the audio version is on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, and Tuned In. And finally, you can email or text Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpalme19@gmail.com, or you can text the show at 519-820-7188. Finally, I want to say thank you to my 2 guests today. I want to say thank you to Claire Alfrey, a morning news reporter with Good Morning Jacksonville, for coming on today. And I want to say thank you again to Nicole Vreen, academic mentor in the athletics department at the University of Tampa Bay. So I've had a busy couple days with 4 shows in 2 days. And I want to say thank you to everyone watching this live streamed on my audio platforms, and to those listening on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM. I hope everybody has a great night's rest of the week. And we'll see you back here on Monday, February 5th at 7 o'clock with my guest, Aaron Sanders. And then Tuesday, February 6th at 2:30 with Nashville recording artist star Tori Martin to talk about her latest single, Stepping in It. Have a great afternoon, great evening, everybody. And thanks again for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, and weeknights at 8 on WQEE 99.1 FM.